This is Long Story Short from the Connecticut Mirror and WSHU Public Radio. I'm Ebong Udoma. A Connecticut reporter seeks more community engagement in Bridgeport.
Being able to cover the city that I grew up in, I was born in. I'm a Bridgeport native through and through. So coming back home and being able to bring that fire and that passion to cover my city adds a whole different layer to my work.
That's Reginald David, the Connecticut Mirror's community engagement reporter focused on Bridgeport. For the past year, he's tried to build trust in the city's neighborhoods that have often been skeptical of the media. More to come after this.
Hi, I'm Bruce Putterman, publisher of the Connecticut Mirror. Here at the Connecticut Mirror, we do more than just cover the news. As a statewide news organization, we connect people. We introduce people from Wilton to people in Willimantic. We show New London residents what they have in common with New Milford residents. We connect folks in North Branford with folks in North Canaan. If you believe in the importance of connecting people throughout the state, please make a donation to CT Mirror today. Thank you.
Hello, Reginald. What does community engagement mean?
I would say for me, community engagement means journalism that's built with the community. I feel a lot of times, the traditional reporter usually goes in with a story idea, but as a community engagement reporter, my approach is a little bit different. I like to go into communities and neighborhoods and not to be looked at as a reporter, but more like a neighbor. A lot of my story ideas come from word of mouth, from a conversation, from me going to the community, from going to different events, maybe grabbing a coffee, or even sometimes, even hosting a listening session. So I feel like, being a community engagement reporter, it's literally that. It's literally engaging with the community and having the community be the base of your reporting and your sources.
Isn't that what traditional media is supposed to be, engaging with the community? Why is
Yes.
it necessary to actually emphasize and have a community engagement reporter?
Yeah, I think it's so important because, with the community, and traditionally, a lot of reporters and media, everyone wants the sort of quote unquote bigger story. And sometimes that sort of goes through the cracks when there's so many great stories out there in places specifically like Bridgeport, where it's a lot going on, but there's a lot of people on the ground doing a lot of great work for the community. And a lot of the times, if you're not in the community, boots on the ground, going to these events, connecting with the people, you will really miss out on a lot of great opportunities that's out there for stories, resources, information. And a lot of times, with the community engagement reporting, it's not all about just writing a story on what's going on. Sometimes it's simply just showing up, simply just having a influence in the community, being a trusted face, a trusted voice, and a trusted source for the community residents. So I feel like, with community engagement, you do have the typical traditional duties of a reporter, but it allows me to go a little bit deeper where I could be that person, that go-to person for information, for resources.
So let's get into a little bit of your background. How did you get
Yes.
into this, and
Yeah.
how has it worked out as you try to engage in Bridgeport?
Yeah, so going a little bit back, I started at WNPR in Connecticut, then went to Kansas City, worked as a producer for KCUR NPR's Kansas City before returning home to take this position to cover Bridgeport. And during all of that time, I always been, involved in the community and trying to uplift, underserved communities and their voices and making sure that those issues are on the forefront. So this has always been up my alley and something I wanted to do. And I feel like coming in this position, being able to cover the city that I grew up in, I was born in, I'm a Bridgeport native through and through. So coming back home and being able to bring that fire and that passion to cover my city adds a whole different layer to my work.
So,
And it's something that I'm very proud that I get to come back home and do.
so could you tell us some of the stories you've been able to generate because of that?
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, some of my favorite stories to date, one of them is a story on Little Liberia, a free black community that settled here and who actually stopped in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And it's a couple of houses that are still standing from that time period. So, me being able to highlight that Black history in Bridgeport that, often got overlooked or sort of got, buried under in the past. I got to, revitalize that story and, bring more attention to that. Also, I've been able to cover, public housing, in Bridgeport. That is something that we see that doesn't get a lot of attention. So being able to highlight those residents that live in those public housings to, make sure that their voice, those concerns are, being amplified to the people that need to know. And, also on a positive note, I get to, highlight a lot of culture things that happen in Bridgeport. Something like, Bridgeport has its first Haitian Flag Day, and that was a big thing for Bridgeport. Highlighting that Haitian culture, highlighting the diversity of Bridgeport. Something that might get overlooked with being a state in Connecticut where people might have different thoughts. So being able to shine a light on those unique things that make Bridgeport Bridgeport. And maybe one more point, something I'm also proud about that I got to accomplish is building relationship with people like Bridgeport's police chief. I've been able to start a couple of projects, community policing projects, basically meaning I've been able to interview parents, interview the police chief about their feelings, how community policing is done, in hopes to build that bridge between Black and brown communities and the police force, something that we have seen in our country for so long. So being able to, in my role, try to help bridge that in the city that I'm covering. So, doing different projects like that and being able, to put the community's voice at the forefront, it has been helping me shape my work and shape the stories that I've been able to do.
Now, it's helped to build trust, but
Yes.
at the same time, how does that affect your objectivity when you're dealing with these stories?
Traditionally, a lot of people just swoop in and get what they need and usually get out. I try to use a different approach when building trust. I don't always like to just the first time I meet someone, I don't like to bring out my pen and pad. Maybe I'll like to, maybe our second or third meeting, that's when I'll might try to talk about the actual issue, because I've learned that you sometimes you have to break down that barrier, especially in different underserved communities who have a lot of people come in and out and get promised things and this and that. So being able to build that trust and being able to show up consistently has been like a couple of key things that I've used to build trust in these communities.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Reginald. Really appreciate you doing this, and we'll be
Absolutely.
looking out for more of your stories going forward.
Thank you so much for having me.
Long Story Short is hosted by me, Ebong Udoma, and produced by Molly Ingram. Harriet Jones is our editor. WSHU's Alicia Daddario and the Connecticut Mirror's Gabby D. Benedictus are our digital team. This podcast is a collaboration between the Connecticut Mirror and WSHU Public Radio. We go behind the scenes at the home of public policy journalism in Connecticut. More can be found online at ctmirror.org and wshu.org. Our episodes can be found wherever you get your podcasts.